Welcome to Poets at War, a podcast documenting the brood of writers, where art, theology, philosophy, and fun beckon your ears. And now, your host and general, Joshua David Ling.
What up, folks? How we doing? We got a crazy one coming up, not only this week, but next week as well, because we had a 3-hour conversation, many of us, all together on January 27th of this year, and it was a barn burner. We talked about a lot of things, and myself, Jesse, and Alex were on 90% of both episodes. This one's going to run around about an hour and 15, and the next one's going to be about an hour and 43 minutes. So strap in and enjoy this first part, and part 2 will be out next week. So enjoy.
God of song, said the warrior bard, though all the world betray thee, one sword at least thy right shall guard, one faithful heart shall praise thee.
So, you are now entering the
able to get it. So
zone.
yeah, it's a little excessive, as you can see. And I'd rather it be a little shorter, but yeah, do what you can.
Yep, I hear that. So, how were y'all hit by any of this crazy weather?
I mean, it's been a hard freeze. I said hard freeze last week. It's been this past weekend. It's not too bad. We had like a snow flurry Sunday night, but it lasted like maybe an hour.
We've had 2 Sundays with random snow flurries, but then like it warms up before it can stick and or turns to rain, and so yeah, we've had some scares. Stores cleared out kind of a thing, because I mean, after what happened with Helene, we're just kind of on edge, in this town. But
wasn't coming, because we always get hurricane warnings every year, and we've never had one. People that have lived in Augusta for like 60 years had never actually had one.
Yep. You heard all that?
So nobody was doing the same thing about a snowstorm.
Yeah, exactly. So, and all of our stuff is still above ground, like utilities and stuff like that. And so it's just like
in like places where they get regular winter weather, it's like mandatory in their codes that things are buried like 6 feet.
Right.
We don't have that here.
Yep, we don't. I have had some breakthroughs on random stuff. Today was actually a pretty decent breakthrough. I've been tooling around with website designs and builders and things that I'm making. I'm building the builders using AI and seeing if I can find something I like. And I found something I really like today that might actually be able to allow me to create using Payhip, which is a kind of like Gumroad, kind of like Selfie, or some of those others. Basically be able to create my own passcode system to have a premium version of my website that once you put in the code, it gives your browser a 10-year cookie, and you can always use that code again to just get that cookie back. So essentially I can sell a one-time premium version of my website, and what I'm thinking I'm going to do is start at like $1 for a couple, like for a extended period, and then as things build, increase it, and be like, hey, get on the ground floor, you'll have it forever, and just build the cost of it over time. I could eventually build it to where it actually has tiers, or whatever, but essentially it'll just be YouTube embeds or whatever embeds I want to use. I can use, self-hosted stuff eventually, like embedded playlists, or HTML pages, or links, like a hyperlink out of my page. And every single one of those, I call it a channel. There's 3 different kinds of channels, and essentially it just creates a grid with 16 by 9 thumbnails that fill the entire screen. So I can have an about, I can have Poets at War, I can order them how I want, right? And essentially I can I have it set as a plain black background, but I can put my own background on there behind it. I won't go too crazy on it, but yeah, it's literally just like you have thumbnails. The whole thing is just nice big thumbnails, right? And you can order them however you want, and they dynamically scale. You know, if you have a vertical screen, have a horizontal screen, doesn't matter. It figures out how to dynamically allocate that. And then the cool part is where you would input the codes. I have a thing that I call the magic terminal. What it is it's like a computer terminal that you can make it super hard to find, like special hidden Easter egg level hard to find, or you can make it very clear. But essentially it's a place where you can type in the title of what you want to go look at and hit enter, and it'll take you there. One of the pages, random pages. It doesn't do the hidden ones if you're not on the paid tier, whatever. But you can also, that's where you would put in your access code, right? And like I said, it gives you a cookie. That cookie's set to expire in 10 years, which is the maximum. And so yeah,
you
basically, yeah.
Are you vibe coding this?
Yeah.
Okay, that's why I was like, when did you take a coding lesson? So like that's
no. It's
okay.
it's vibe coding, but I'm also doing stuff to make sure that I'm using base 64 encoding and some other things to make sure that that you can't just do view page source and like find all the secret codes and things like that. Doing some extra like layers, but also like if someone goes to all of that trouble to decode the base 64 encoding, I'm like, dude, go ahead, take it. You know what I mean? Like, I don't need super encryption level NORAD stuff.
Website, bro. It's not that deep.
Right, exactly. But essentially, yeah, you would just have the public facing version, and then you go and there's a button to click to go get your code. I have an embed from Payhip that allows you to buy an access code. And with that access code, you get a little video tutorial that basically says, here's how you put it in. You go click the secret magic terminal and you paste your code, and then you have a cookie on your computer that lasts for 10 years. And that'll let you in whenever you want. And anytime you want to get back in or use a different device, all you have to do is paste that code into the secret terminal. So that's fun, right?
As long as you keep it.
Yeah. Well, you can put it wherever you want, and I'll have a record of them. And so and it'll email you a copy of it, So like,
is there anything to do about codes that get shared?
No, but if you're sharing codes, I don't care. That's the same thing as like Netflix, whatever.
Is this codes to just access the website or access specific pages?
And so you can set channels as hidden, right? So these channels are essentially either a single video embedded, a playlist embedded, a link that goes like out, from my page to something else, or an HTML page in and of itself, right? So it has other content on it, whatever it is, right? So I can create anything with those three types of channels, quote unquote, and I can set them either as public or hidden. And the full version of the site, when you unlock it, has all the channels. You see what I'm saying? So I can have Poets at War recordings, right? The full, like I've told you I've been uploading and having unlisted versions of on a playlist, the full Poets at War recordings minus anything that we're cutting, right? And so that would be on the full version. There's a button, a little thumbnail button that says Poets at War raw recordings or whatever I want to call it, right? And I can create a 16:9 graphic for each and every one of these, right? So yeah. Seems like a fun way to do
Sounds
it to
like-
me. I've been in.
Sounds like you've been busy.
Yeah, well, it's been fun. Like I had played with the terminal idea to be like the full website, where you basically just put in a code, put it, and it has like a list of public codes, but then it has secret codes and whatever else, and that was fun, but it wasn't. It is mobile friendly technically because you're just using a keyboard, but it was so out there that I felt like it was a little bit to the person who's just accessing it for the first time. And so I played with it, and the thumbnail idea came in mind. I'm like, what if I had like a grid, you know, kind of like you're looking at Netflix or something like that, but less ads and really distracting gradients for no reason in the UI. You know what I'm saying? Like, because you know what Netflix looks like, right? Or things like that, right? How they have all those 16 by 9 thumbnails. Right. But if it's really just plain, and you literally have 16 by 9 thumbnails for everything, and they're not like auto playing when you mouse over them, or you know, all that other kind of stuff, right? It is just like and it's a big single line on a phone screen where you're just flipping through, and you pick one and tap it, and it goes to open the thing that you want to open. Like that's much better. And like I said, the cookie works in any browser. So it's like, you know, you have a mobile browser, you basically put the code in on your phone, put the code in on your computer, and you're good for 10 years, so long as you don't delete the cookie. And if you do, you still have the code somewhere, right? So you can just throw it back in there, and it'll bring that cookie back up. So, I think it's pretty genius. all I basically need is a payment method to distribute the codes, and Payhip has a whole thing where if you basically like generate a whole bunch of codes and put them to where one code is on one line in a text document, and you upload that, like, and they'll tell you whenever they reach a number of specified that they have left. What's up, Alex? Snow lad.
Yes.
How's the snow over there?
It's not too bad right now.
Okay, where are y'all at, and what kind of power do you have?
Oh, we're fine. Yeah, like
good.
OKC has been through enough blizzards or like enough winter weather things that unless it's a really bad ice storm, we're pretty hardened against it.
Yeah, cool.
Like I'm sure that there are some people without power in OKC, but it's not much whenever it's just snow.
I read somewhere it's like 1,100 homes, and I'm like, that doesn't sound very much compared to the amount of people in OKC.
Yeah, no, it's really not. We've got what is it? OKC, Oklahoma has a population of like 7 million or something like that, and like
exactly, yeah,
2 million of them live in OKC, and like 1.5 million live in Tulsa, and then the rest live like scattered throughout. So yeah, like we're really fine over here.
Yep. We're trying to get video. It's connecting.
How are you guys?
Not bad.
It should be.
Are you in a dark room?
No, I'm not. I don't know why it's not working.
Odd.
1 sec.
Okay.
Let's see here.
Shut up. Yours is not either, Joshua.
Oh, it isn't? My bads. There we go. I always forget to turn that on. I need to remind myself. Is it working now?
Okay. Nope. My video is just not working.
Is my video working, Jesse?
Yes, yours is.
Cool. Awesome.
Have you tried turning the back on again?
I was just telling him about some vibe coding I did on website stuff. You remember the terminal thing that I was doing, right?
Yeah.
So I revamped it to be kind of a thumbnail grid system that has a secret terminal.
Okay. Cool.
So, and I'm really, really, really happy with it. And I'm going to be able to do my own, basically what I'm going to build is a, public facing website with a like the premium version backend. And essentially started at like $1 for a while. And you get it and raise the price over time, but it's going to be not a monthly or a yearly or anything like that. It's going to be a one-time thing. What the code's going to do is it's going to essentially unlock the full site. And you get that code lasts forever, and your what is it called? The code puts a cookie in your browser that is set to expire in 10 years, which is the maximum for a cookie. So essentially, anytime you go to the site after that, as long as you still have the cookie there, it will bring up the full version. And even if you don't have the cookie, you can always put your code back in.
Interesting.
Yeah. So
Cool.
I've been building that, and it's working really well, like really well. Also, I got my Roku TV back here, finally properly showing stuff. I've been using it on occasion, but it's been showing ads and stuff, and I finally found there's actually an app on Roku. I won't say it because I don't want it to go away, but it's actually in the Roku store that does YouTube without ads. And so
interesting.
I'll you could tell me, and I'll send it to you if you want, if you have Roku TV. I don't know if you do.
I do not.
Yeah, but that's helpful, and I got it. So
I am an Apple TV supremacist.
Yeah, totally. And I'm sure you can find stuff for that with ad-free YouTube too.
I'm sure.
But yeah, so that's going well. But yeah, cool. I was just checking. I was gonna ask Jesse what's going on with work. I just did Founders Conference. So many clips. I worked like 40 hours on clips in 3 days.
Oh gosh!
Oh my!
It was 3 12-hour days of staring at the computer.
Cool. What were you using to clip them?
Descript.
I would
You're an Opus guy.
I would suggest
aren't you?
Opus Clip. Yeah, I'm an Opus guy. Well, it's because I used Descript a while back, so maybe their tools are better.
They've gotten a lot better. But that's also not my decision. That's Adrian's. Oh, he had to pause for some reason. So what's going on with you, Alex?
Not much. I've been we've been snowed in. Not like technically snowed in. We could have gotten out if we wanted to, but the roads were a little bit icy until today, and so we were hunkered down at Debbie's parents' for a while, from Friday evening until this afternoon.
We have incoming.
We have incoming?
What? People?
Steven?
Carrie?
No. Yes.
Gotcha.
But so we stayed down there for a while, from Friday evening until this afternoon. And while I was down there, I started a project that I've been meaning to do for a while, which is reformatting publicly available public domain texts that are very useful but very poorly formatted, so that I can have an EPUB version.
Very nice.
So I'm really happy with what I've been able to do with that.
That reminds me of the other vibe coding thing that I did recently. What's up, Carrie? You doing all right, ma'am?
Hey, man.
Wait, give me a second.
Sure, you're good.
Just wait for the car, so.
Okay. The other vibe coding thing I did was I went ahead and kind of redid my writing software for poetry from the ground up. And now I have a much more lightweight writer situation that works on my phone as well. I also was able to get a system working to where, and you probably knew you could do this, but Automator on Mac. I'm running a shell script that essentially keeps basically deletes everything that basically it keeps the latest 20 versions of a file in a folder. So basically, like, I'm continually saving it. It always has a timestamp on it from the app, and it deletes older versions than the last 20 versions.
Okay.
So that makes it a lot easier to back up what I'm doing and make sure I don't make mistakes. But essentially, the writer, one of the best features in it is I now have it to where everything is essentially, how do I put this? It's indented. So you've got like Guardians of Atlanta, the series, and then season 1, and then episode 1, and then the first poem. Those are all indented lines. You see what I'm saying?
Yeah.
And everything automatically sorts by alphanumeric sorting.
Okay.
And then I have all of my worlds in one document that flows and saves as an HTML page.
Cool.
And so the coolest thing about that is when I load that HTML page into my writing software and want to do text to speech, I can hit play and it will continue playing through the whole thing from wherever I start.
Okay.
So essentially I have all of my individual pieces and parts on separate pages for each poem, right? But it will read completely through. So I can listen to all of Guardians once I put it all in there.
Cool.
Right? And so that's going to be super helpful. So what's going on with you, Carrie?
Very cool.
Just driving?
What?
I just said, what's up with you? Are you driving?
Yeah, I just got off work. I'm heading home.
I gotcha.
I'm about to pick up some food in.
There you go.
Ooh. Where are you getting boudin from?
You're rolling money.
Bro, where do you think I'm getting food at from?
Billy's?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Noah was just
really
saying.
just asked.
Noah was just saying that he was thinking that he needs to come down there again to get some boudin. So we may be heading down there sometime in the near future.
You should definitely do that. Hey, Jesse,
Is that a threat or a promise?
You can take it however you want, man.
Hey, Jesse,
Or with the side of fries. What's up?
you want one?
Bro, I wouldn't say no.
Oh, I know you would.
What's that supposed to mean? What's
You know
that supposed to
exactly what
mean?
Yeah, I could pick you up a link.
Alrighty.
They had
I'm at the
enough time
office.
to go
We'll
over
have to know the way straight to my heart.
I know you won't say no to that either.
Oh, man.
Y'all get
So,
to go while I order some food at.
What books, Alex, have you been doing so far?
So far I'm working on a fourth. I think I've done 3 so far.
Mm-hmm.
1 second. Let me open up books.
Sure.
No, I've done 2 so far. I'm working on a third.
Which books?
So the first was Rerum Novarum, which is a papal encyclical from 1891, talking about what's the subtitle there? 1 sec. The rights and duties of capital and labor.
Okay.
So it's written by Pope Leo XIII, and it is tremendously interesting. It is super insightful. Like, he has his finger on the pulse of like, just how should Christians be looking at economics in general, talking about the excesses of capitalism that you see in the rise of the Industrial Revolution, but also drawing it all the way back to its very early origins in like the 1600s, like early 1600s, late 1500s, that type of thing.
Yeah.
Really, really interesting. Talking about how we misunderstand the nature of private property. Like, one sec, let me, if you'd like, I can just read it, read the section on that, because it's
Sure, I don't mind.
absolutely incredible. So, okay. This is section 13. If you go onto the Vatican's website, you can find the entire encyclical for free. That's where I downloaded the text from.
Right.
This is section 13, if you want to read along. That right to property, therefore, which has been proved to belong naturally to individual persons, must, in likewise, belong to a man in his capacity as the head of a family. Nay, that right is all the stronger in proportion as the human person receives a wider extension in the family group. It is the most sacred law of nature that a father should provide food for all necessaries for those whom he has begotten. And similarly, it is natural that he should wish that his children, who carry on, so to speak, and continue his personality, should be by him provided with all that is needful to enable them to keep themselves decently from want and misery amid the uncertainties of this mortal life. Now, in no other way can a father effect this except by ownership of productive property, which he can transmit to his children by inheritance. A family, no less than a state, is, as we have said, a true society, governed by an authority peculiar to itself, that is to say, by the authority of the father. Provided, therefore, the limits which are prescribed by the very purposes for which it exists not to be transgressed, the family has at least equal rights with the state in the choice and pursuit of things needful to its preservation and its just liberty. We say at least equal rights, for inasmuch as the domestic household is antecedent, as well as in idea as in fact, to the gathering of men into a community, the family must necessarily have rights and duties which are prior to those of the community, and founded more immediately in nature. If the families, on entering into associations and fellowship, were to experience hindrance in a commonwealth instead of help, and were to find their rights attacked instead of being upheld, society would rightly be an object of detestation rather than of desire.
Okay. Yeah. Sounds biblical to me.
Really
I don't
good
always
stuff.
agree with Catholics, but
Like,
I think I might agree with this one.
there are two sentences in the entire the EPUB comes out to 13 pages. There are two sentences where I'm like, that's specifically Catholic. I disagree with that. One of them has to do with eschatology, and I don't remember what the other one is. But like, there were two sentences that I'm like, okay, set that aside. That's not right. Everything else, tremendous, crazy interesting. Like he ends up talking about trade unions later on in the book, or later on in the encyclical, and he argues that that Catholics, specifically Christians as a whole, but specifically Catholics, he's writing to Catholics, ought to unionize to help better like that's how you love your neighbor. Like you are collectively working together to make each other's lives better. Not just economically, though, not just monetarily by like monopolizing the use of the trade, by monopolizing the trade. But he argues that the first and foremost priority of trade unions from a Christian perspective should be the moral and theological education of its members. Because how else are they going to love their neighbors by doing their work well?
Right. Yeah.
It's fantastic. It's incredible.
I like guild more than union as a word, but it's the same concept.
Yeah, he talks about Right before that, in the paragraph before that, I don't remember which one it is. I had to fix the. I had to redo the EPUB formatting, so I lost all my notes. But he talks about it, and he says, obviously, the guilds of medieval times were fantastic. They served their purpose terribly well. We got rid of them, and that hurt us. And now this is what we should do. And he talks about trade unions.
Gotcha.
So yeah. But he explicitly says guild.
Like I said, they're basically the same thing when placed in this context. Obviously, there are labor unions and things which we would disagree with, generally speaking. Maybe not in every specific, but generally speaking.
Yeah.
And so there's, a difference there. I just, like I said, I'm allergic to certain words because of connotations and blah, blah, blah. But other than that, like everything I heard was like, yeah, that's biblical. Like I said, there are the various things I'm like, I'm allergic to that term. I would put it differently, but I would say the same thing, basically.
I just think it's absolutely incredible, and everyone should go read it because it's real short. It's 64 paragraphs.
Nice.
Like the entire audiobook at a very reflective pace is an hour and a half.
Very nice.
So
very nice. I'll have to look at that at some point.
Yeah.
So let's see here.
The other ones I'm doing, you asked what you asked all of them that I was doing.
Yeah, that's right. I did. Go ahead.
That's one of them. I am working on Richard Cantillion's essay on the nature of trade in general, which is a early like proto-capitalist pre-Smith text that was originally written in English, and then the English text was lost, but a French translation by Cantillon was preserved, and so that's like a very important element to modern day capitalism. And so I did that one as well. So yeah, and then the one that I'm working on right now is Outline of Sanity by G.K. Chesterton, because Chesterton is incredible.
Yes, he is. What have you come across in your goings through these that is directly or even indirectly applicable to what we're trying to long-term do with Poets at War Press? Because I've been thinking about that more recently, especially with like, we're gonna have to have, I mentioned it in the Brood earlier, but we're gonna have to have a board game division, it seems. Oh, yeah. So like what if anything has been on your mind in regard to that?
In regard to that, I'm not sure that I've found anything that's particularly interesting, except in that so all of this project, like I'm going through and trying to give myself an economics education is what obviously. This is. I'm like, I've got a list of 24 books that start with Rerum Novarum, go through. I finished Wealth of Nations by Adam Smith, which is not a good book and shouldn't be read. Like it's not morally objectionable in as much as capitalism isn't morally objectionable. It's just so dull. He's talking about the market. He's talking about the market price of goods in 1760 England, and it's it's like reading an economics textbook. It's exactly what you would think it is, except for the parts where he starts trying to apply his like the theory that would later become known as capitalism to education and religion. And he says that if you apply capitalism to education, he says, if you have the state controlling education, then they will be teaching useless things like metaphysics, philosophy, and theology. Which is the best argument I've ever heard for state control of education. Legitimately, that is the best argument I've ever heard. Oh, we give it to the state and they'll keep teaching useless things from the past? Great. That's fantastic. If it were true. It's not, obviously, but if it were true, that's a great argument for state education, man.
Right.
And then whenever he applies it to religion, he says, like, basically, the Catholic Church having a monopoly on religion is wrong because economics. So if we let everybody have free reign of religion, it will boil down to that truly rational religion, which is at the heart of all world religions. So he's obviously just completely ignorant about theology in general.
Yeah.
Which makes sense because his forebears, the School of Salamanca, were like proto-Austrian free market economists from Spain.
Yep.
1 second. Yes. School of Salamanca, proto-Austrian free market economists from Spain. The School of Salamanca that they were at led the way in the destruction of scholasticism, where all of the sciences were under theology and all of them were talking to each other. They said, nah, we don't need to do that. It was part of the same project, which makes total sense.
Yep. I hear
So
you.
yeah, I went back to the primary sources on capitalism, on free market economics, because I want to believe it. I really do, because there are so many good people who believe it.
Right.
And everything I'm finding is just confirming that I was right in not liking it.
Right.
Yeah, it's really interesting.
You're good for free markets. You're not good for the purpose of free markets being gain.
I like. So Smith's fundamental point in Wealth of Nations is solid, which is that whenever a market is left alone, whenever a economic market is left alone, it will self-optimize to make sure that everybody gets what they want.
Right.
The people who are producing things get their profit. The people who own land get their rent. The people who are working get their wages. And the person who buys all of them gets the thing at the price that they want to pay for it.
Right.
And that's how that works. All of these forces will self-regulate, and he proves that exhaustively. As I said, most of it is just him talking about the prices of goods and gold in 1600s, 1700s England. He proves that very, very well.
Yeah.
The issue is a fundamental one.
Of motive.
What?
Of motive.
Well, not just of motive, but of the fundamental issue with liberalism, because capitalism is just liberalism applied to economics. The fundamental tenet of liberalism is that man should be free from outside interference. And that is the principle.
I'm following you. I'm following you.
There's no limit on that in liberalism. Now you can apply it. You can apply it in a limited way, and that has been done and can be done. But the fundamental principle of liberalism, if you go back to the very earliest points in the Enlightenment, is that man should be left alone.
Right.
In that, you have a fundamental issue, because man isn't alone. Man is has a relationship with God. Man has a relationship with his parents. He has a relationship with his family. He has a relationship with his neighbors. Man is not alone, and liberalism liberalism postulates that he should be.
So essentially what it's doing is it is removing base level debts.
Yes, exactly.
Okay.
That's exactly as I understand it. This is not me deep diving into liberalism. I'll eventually have to go read Locke and Rousseau and all of them. Really not looking forward to reading Rousseau. But eventually I'm going to have to do that.
Read it while you're picturing in your ears Snively Whiplash's voice from the Wacky Races, and then it'll all be better.
Maybe. But
not Snively Whiplash. Dick Dastardly, excuse me, I got him mixed up. Snively Whiplash is Dudley Do Right.
Maybe
Dick Dastardly is Wacky Races. Anyway, go ahead.
But that's the fundamental tenet of liberalism. In capitalism, as laid out by Adam Smith. He doesn't call it capitalism. That's a later term that comes on. But this like free market absolutism is
Right.
liberalism applied to economics.
Right.
And whenever you have that, you have a. I've been talking through all of this with a friend of mine who's very well trained in economics, free market, like free markets, political conservatism. Braden Cook. Not sure if you guys met him.
I think I've heard him or met him or something. Yeah.
Okay. But talking with him about it, and I said, okay, would you who believe in this theory, like you like this is your domain, this is where you're at, would you say that this is a fair definition? That this is me trying to reconstruct what I have without looking it up, what I wrote without looking it up. But capitalism states that markets ought to be that markets ought to be left alone from all outside interference except the desires of the people involved in the market, mainly the consumer, the landowner, the capitalist, the person who owns the capital, stockholder would be another term, and the laborer. He said, yes, that is what capitalism is. Necessarily, that also means that any outside moral implications have to be left out of the system. Inasmuch as they affect the desires of the people who are in the system, they can have an effect. But outside moral authority has no place in a capitalist system. And he agreed to that.
Mm-hmm.
And that's wrong.
Right.
That's wrong. That's just wrong.
Right. So that comes back to the enforcement of those things.
Mm-hmm.
has to be ultimately based on God's design, the state in some measure. So then we go, therefore, how do we actually uphold this in a proper society?
Exactly.
And that's where, right. And so, yeah, I'm with you on that. So
that's what the question, that's what the question becomes. However, we have to get past the idea that it shouldn't have any influence whatsoever.
Right. Yeah. This is getting to where we have issues with English in regard to two particular words that I can think of immediately, and a lot of it has to do with English does this weird thing, and has for a very long time, where there's a lot of things that are just, and there are worse languages than English for this, but that they take a lot of things for granted. So you can say something is red, for example, like the color red, but you're not necessarily saying that it is a bright red, right? There's levels and degrees that are left out of the equation because it's not a specific language unless you really want to drill down and start adding adjectives and adverbs and stuff. And so we have the issue, this issue with two words that are commonly thrown around, not only in regard to capitalism, but in regard to communism, in regard to all kinds of other economic ideas and systems, the word generosity and the word voluntary. And you can have a voluntary system that still takes into account baseline debts, like I called them, your debt to your children, etc. And it still be a voluntary system. You can have generosity that is purely voluntary, and you can have generosity that is a debt that you've overpaid, right? Like to your children. You can be generous to your children, right? And so there's nuances in those two particular words that I think a lot of people just took for granted when compared with these original primary sources like you're talking about, and now have continued to just take them for granted. What's up, dude? That's my
Josh
dude.
was saying hi.
What up, dude? Hi.
Yeah.
Hey, it's Baby James. See?
It's Baby St. James!
There he is.
Wrong direction.
He's very awake right now.
Oh, it's Baby James. newborn baby born a couple of
There he
weeks
is.
ago.
He's 2 weeks
Yep.
old today.
How much did he weigh?
7'2".
7'2".
Seven.
So yep.
Can I get one of those?
Casey said, "Can I get one of those?" You kind of almost had one with Peter. But yeah, one of the tiny ones.
Okay, you were saying voluntary and generosity. Misunderstand it because generosity can be voluntary by voluntary overpayment and stuff like that.
Right. And so I'm just saying a lot of people take the given and just use the word generosity, whereas traditionally, if you're going to use that in a strict sense, you can't have debt and then have generosity, but we use it in such a way that you can, right?
Yeah.
And so I think that there's a lot of things that people have taken for granted in their language about capitalism that morphed it into a godly form for a while and now is morphing it back out because people are going back to older interpretations of the words.
Yeah.
Would you agree with that?
I would say so this is yes. This is what Braden said about free markets. He said that the biggest issue with capitalism, free market ideology, is that it lacks amorality. It's not necessarily immoral, but it is amoral. And it requires, just as the original United States Constitution did, a moral and religious people in order to function.
Yeah, exactly. That's what I'm trying to say.
Yeah, and it's a testament to the effectiveness of the gospel in the culture of Europe that everybody just assumed that it would work because they did.
Yep.
That, like, for between 1776 and 1860, which 1776 is when Wealth of Nations was written, and 1860 I think is when the Communist Manifesto was written. I could be wrong on those dates, or I could be wrong in that last date. But it is a testament to the gospel that everybody for about 100 years thought, oh yeah, this will just work. And it kind of continued to work up until like 1990s America.
Yeah.
Like, it was
1980s,
coasting.
yeah.
1980s, 1990s America, it was coasting off of that moral capital. So
and it got through the beginnings of the sexual revolution up until about the 90s. Yeah, it took about 30 years for there to be a real effect.
I would argue, I'd like to push this argument out more, but I need to read more of the primary sources before I can do that. But I would argue that the sexual revolution is nothing more than capitalism applied to sex.
Yes. In that you're talking about the liberalism specifically.
Yeah.
The autonomous liberalism.
Yeah, the idea of autonomous liberalism, which is inherent in capitalism and, as far as I can tell, primarily survived in capitalism.
Right.
Like, liberalism as a theory was kind of tossed out, at least of the major schools of philosophy, well before the 1960s, and it kind of only survived in capitalism. But as with Adam Smith's formulation, this is what struck me about that whenever I was reading Wealth of Nations, which is why I'm glad that I read a 37-hour audiobook. Even though it was tremendously boring and people shouldn't read it. The Jeff Bezos applies capitalism to attention. He's tracking everything you do online. Zuckerberg is tracking everything that you do online. These companies are tracking it and applying it to attention and saying, okay, how do we optimize for attention, which is the commodity? The commodity is attention. We are the providers in this case. The other big companies are the consumers, and the social media companies are the brokers. They're the people running the marketplace.
Yep. Right.
But it's capitalism applied to attention.
Right.
What struck me, going back to Smith, is that capitalism has always done this. It's always.
No, I do want to briefly state and see if you agree. Attention is a commodity, whether it is commoditized or not.
Yes. Attention is a
Okay.
commodity, whether or not it's commoditized. They're commoditizing the commodity.
Yes.
On a mass scale, which is what makes it.
Yes.
Which is why I'm comfortable saying that it's applying capitalism to it, because capitalism is a
Right.
system. It's not just saying, it's not recognizing commodities. It's saying, okay, this is how we should treat it overall. And that's
They're
what
hunting the
capitalism.
forest and killing all the king's deer. Yeah.
Yeah, exactly. Yes. And so,
Guys, I gotta go.
see you,
All
Carrie.
right, man. We'll see you.
Can I
Much love. Say hi to your wife for us.
say?
Alright, we'll do. Alright,
Bye.
Go to bed.
So we've seen in the last 20 years, 25 years now, capitalism applied to attention.
Mm-hmm.
What struck me is that that's always been a tendency of capitalism since its earliest proponent with Adam Smith. He wasn't just talking about economics. In his book, in his seminal text that expounds the glories of capitalism, he applies it to religion and education, to, I believe, disastrous effects.
Mm-hmm.
Capitalism refuses to stay in its corner. If capitalism as a theory, as an economic, as a system of economics, as an economic system, stayed in its corner of money markets in goods, and I guess you could say services, but even there I'm getting a little bit funny about it, but like money markets in goods, I wouldn't have an issue with it.
Yeah.
But the problem is it's liberalism. And liberalism is a totalizing philosophy. It always has been. And if you have a totalizing philosophy, it will work itself out into every other area of your life.
Right.
Which is what we see with capitalism in America. It's been applied to every single aspect of human life, and that is to our detriment.
So you are more in the natural law kind of side of things. I'm more in pre-sup. We almost always agree on everything when we actually use these two different tools.
Absolutely.
And so because we have the Bible as our standard, it's just two methods of math, basically, moral math.
I tend to be more Lewis. You tend to be more like traditional Van Til, Vantillian, Rushdunian.
But I think that, but obviously Lewis used Van Tillian logic at various points too. Like,
absolutely, 100%. I've got no problem going precept whenever I need to.
Yeah. So in this regard, looking at this problem, there's obviously, let's see if you agree with this, two different sides that we're dealing with. Let me get a drink real quick. We're dealing with the side of the tyranny of liberalism, which liberalism does way better when it is bottom up rather than top down, generally speaking.
Yeah.
And the tyranny of top down, usually, I hesitate to even say conservatism, but it's essentially a tyrannical conservatism of basically like hindering the markets. So you've got situations where, especially in communist systems and various things like that, we have extreme competition squelching. Yeah. Extreme, monopolies and ridiculous systems in that regard, where we overregulate everything. Obviously, we're dealing with both in our current society in various places, right? We deal with some here, some there. So those are the two ends of the tyrannies we're dealing with. The tyranny of the liberal marketplace and the liberal heart, right? Versus the tyrannical clamp down from the top, right? Which is, I guess, technically you could say conservative in that they're trying to maintain some kind of status quo that keeps them in business, at the top, right? And so in regard to this, there's responsibilities on both sides biblically for the people, for the liberal masses that should be at some sense liberal, and the king on the other side, however we define that, right? The leaders, and what they are supposed to do to conserve, because
Yeah.
in a real sense, the people are to be liberal. The people are to be, in the proper sense of the word, liberal, and
Free.
they are to be generous, and they are supposed to be free and voluntary and all these other things we've been saying. And the king needs to be conservative and uphold and keep the status quo. So what are the things that are the actual responsibilities? I'm going to come at it with a precept perspective and say, okay, what are the duties of a vassal to a king, generally speaking, and not just to a king, but to each other, to your family, all these other sorts of things. And that's the regulatory action on that level. And then the king has his Romans 13 jurisdiction, and that's, those are the specific, clear theonomic, walls that we're dealing with. And those walls have variation. I sound very rigid because I'm a precept person, but I'm not, and you know this. I always put up walls so that we can do stuff inside. It's a house. It's not just walls, right?
Yeah.
Do you have...
It's my favorite rejoinder to people who yell about fandom's gatekeeping.
Right.
The only people who hate gatekeeping are the people who aren't supposed to be inside the walls. They're the attackers.
Right.
The attackers are the people who hate gatekeeping. The people who are outside who want to get in the city, like the gates, they want the protection it provides.
Yep.
The only people who hate the gates are the attackers.
Yep. You have more thoughts on that, specifically how, like, the duties of a king and then the people, like, do you agree with the way that I kind of set it up? Do you agree with the walls that I put up?
No, I totally agree.
Generally speaking. Yeah. Okay. So you obviously added a little extra with your little gatekeeping thing. Is there any other kind of natural observations you would want to do to make this thing more of a house?
Not particularly. Like, except in the Chesterton talks about this in both Orthodoxy and What's Wrong with the World. In Orthodoxy, famously, he says that if you're an artist and you hold yourself to be free to draw a giraffe with a short neck, you will soon find that you are in fact not free to draw a giraffe.
Right.
Art, like morality, consists of drawing the lines somewhere. Is his summation of that entire point.
Right.
The rigid lines, the structures and strictures of, in that case, art, in your case, rights and duties of freedom, allow for actual freedom. Right. Not having those walls of rights or duties, not having the structure of giraffes have long necks, doesn't actually make you more free. It just enslaves you to absurdism.
Right. Yep. I hear you there.
So I'm saying that very
Can
angrily
you tell we
because
haven't
I'm
talked in a
passionate
little
about
while?
it. Yes, exactly. I'm saying that very angrily because I'm passionate about it, not because I think you disagree with me at all.
Right. Yeah, totally. But we hadn't talked in a while, so we just had to get some get some stuff going. Speaking of capitalism, no, I'm joking, but there are 4 things that have made it onto our list as upgrades to my setup that you might find cool just because you like tech. I'm getting a new arm. This arm was my dad's, the arm for my mic, and it is kind of squeaking and creaking and getting old. I found a really nice one by Tonor, which has RGB capabilities. So it's actually really good structure and stuff too. A lot of people really like it. I'm going to be getting good stuff. They do. Their mics are actually incredible. I have 2 wireless mics of theirs that are actually really good. Almost as good as
especially
this, to be
for
honest
the price,
with you, and way cheaper.
They're pretty inexpensive.
Yep. I'm going to be getting the YOLO Cam S3. You know about that one? Have you seen that
I
on
do not.
some of the tech reviews? Okay. You know the YOLO Live company, right?
Yes.
No? Kind of, yeah.
I don't know. What are they? Refresh me in case I don't.
They do basically like big streaming box tablets that have a bunch of HDMI inputs that you can do switching stuff with and things like that. They do a lot of different stuff, but they made a webcam that is really, really good. It's like the top-notch webcam that's out there now, and honestly, it's almost as good as a DSLR setup. It's really, really nice. It's like $200 at this point. I'm actually really excited about getting it. And Jesse, I'll have you if you can help me when I do get it. Like set up my lighting for it again. Lighting and levels, of all the settings. Then I'm going to be getting a USB earbud set, like wireless earbud set that has very, very low latency because these broke. You've seen me with these before. The thing came off, and these are old, and
there should be.
I need a low latency option for singing and whatnot.
Right there.
And then I'm gonna be finally getting a 10-inch monitor with horizontal flip capabilities to finally set up my full teleprompter. So I'm going to have I have the smaller TV that's right here where I'm looking at you. I'm going to be turning that landscape and double feed, basically like from my Mac, go to a duplicator. I have an HDMI duplicator, and send one signal to this 10-inch monitor that will be with the teleprompter, and then one on the main monitor. So I'll have the best of both worlds. I'll have a roughly 20-inch monitor and the teleprompter with the same feed, so I can easily set something up and then look at it on the teleprompter. So that'll be nice.
Super cool.
Yeah. So
awesome.
Just thought you'd find those interesting.
Yeah.
My album's going really well too. Yeah. Actually better than I'm still working on trying to get the and there's some new features in Suno. I'm trying to get the prophecy still together, but the album itself is going super well. Did you ever hear the new version of Minstrel Boy that I did?
No, I don't think so.
Okay, I put that in the you and Jesse DM.
Okay.
I haven't used it in an episode yet. I kind of wanted your thoughts on it before I actually did that, but it's going to be the first track. It's going to be the first track on the album, and then bookending it, kind of. The third to last track will be The Son of God Goes Forth to War with that tune.
Okay. Yeah. I really like that tune for Son of God Goes Forth to War. Like, I like Gregory Wilbur's tune as well.
Yes. Yes.
Love that one as well. But
yes,
Minstrel Boy, great tune.
Yeah. And so that's all going well. The second to last song is my dad's Blessing and Honor and Glory and Power Belong to Our God that I've shared with you once or twice.
Yeah.
And so there's the guy who plays piano at my mom's church is also a music teacher. I grew up with him. He's like 5 or 6 years older. He could play a vacuum. He's just one of those like crazy multi-instrumentalist people. He took my dad's some recordings and my mom's rendition, just singing it to him of my dad's song, and did a piano arrangement a little while ago and recorded it. I took that and put that into Suno with everything and put it all together, and I just made it exactly the way it should be, and I sent it to my mom without my vocal yet, and she thought it was my vocal at first, which is kind of funny. But she absolutely cried and immediately called me and was like, "That's amazing." Also, my mom actually asked me to write 2 more verses to it, because it's only a single verse, the way my dad did it, and so I wrote 2 more verses. His version was almost all scripture, so I stuck with almost all scripture, just kind of putting pieces together, and it's turned out really, really nice. And so
super cool.
That's going well. The song I'm working on now is the second song, which is called Kings of the Backyard. And it is based on my first Poets at War episode with Daniel and Aaron. And I asked, their permission and stuff, and they were all totally cool. Once they read the lyrics, they were like, good gracious, yes. And it's just a song about like playing in the backyard as kids and pretending, and how like complex and fantasy like the world gets. And it's like yellow cardy sort of like punk pop song, and it's really good. So
cool.
Yeah. So it's going well. It's going really well.
Very cool.
Also, Jesse, I figured out workflow for the songs. I changed my mic settings to where I didn't have to buy anything and was able to give myself more headroom for really properly singing and stuff. And because you heard the Minstrel Boy, you like that. And so I basically, I'm playing it back in Final Cut for my own ears, but I'm doing a multi-track audio recording at the same time in OBS, and I'm literally like running it back and singing it, and just recording the whole time, and then editing everything together later, and it's so much better. So, yeah,
I bet.
But yep. So. But yeah, what's been on your mind lately, Jesse?
World building stuff. I mean, apart from a bunch of work things coming up, my sister is Mitty. She's working on a little project. I say a little project, a book project that she wants to make in the future, and I won't give any details. I'll just say it's exciting whenever she like sends me some updates on how it's going, and I'm like, I want to see this go somewhere. This is going somewhere, and it kind of inspired me to put a little more thought into a little project that I've had. You could technically say that it's been going on for 5 years, but it's because a group of friends that I still have from like 5 years ago, whenever I joined a Minecraft server, I've still had them throughout the years. And on that Minecraft server, we had like, it was a nations server, whatever. Anyway, we all stopped playing that like 3.5 years ago.
Mm-hmm.
But the stuff we were building in it, and the stuff that I would draw for it, I've continued to kind of like draw, and literally like just in the past few days, one of my friends from that, who's Catholic, we were just sending ideas about what a world set in that world, what a story or a plot line could be, and it's exciting. It's exciting because then I spent like almost an hour, 2 hours throughout the day just messaging back and forth a whole like story and plot line and timeline for how this would work out. And I was like, okay, we would need to. I would have to figure out stuff for. It's not like any of this is copyrighted, but I would have to figure some stuff out and at least reach out to some folks. But it's a pretty cool thing overall, and I've been drawing for it for about 5 years now. So it's somewhere. Well, a little less than 5 years.
Awesome.
But some of the things that I've sent into the Brood recently have been sort of based on that world building project.
The moth with the sword.
Not the moth with the sword. That was purely. I had said that to Brendan, kind of as a joke, and then I realized I actually want to draw that too. That had nothing to do with it, with the world building thing. And that looked more like a fly, because I forgot that moths have fuzzy little mittens, not spindly little legs. But anyway, it's something that I'm thinking will actually wind up going somewhere.
Jesse says hi.
Nice.
That says hi.
Well, more
back.
accurately, I pointed, but
Zell also says hi.
Hi too. Joshua said hi too to people.
Whoa, no, that can't be Zell. She's at least 5 times bigger than the Zell I know. Getting way too old, way too quick.
Dang. He says you're getting too old too fast, Zell.
Mhm.
Ooh, pretty.
Does a Zell age differently than most humans?
Does a Zell age differently than most humans, Zell? Debbie says that she thinks that Zell does everything differently than most humans.
Including age.
That's probably true.
Yeah. So here's the thing that I've been doodling on
very
for the
nice.
past 30 or so minutes.
Very nice.
Not too much, but just trying to go somewhere. Something I'd like to hand put on Tish. Hand to some of the artists is trying to get them to do. I don't know what their practices look like on the regular, or if they do any practices. I would take a guess and say some of them don't do enough practice. So I'd like to get them to do some like anatomy practice with hands, drawing some hands and seeing how they can do. Because I did that recently, and let me tell you, it was actually incredibly helpful. Because I went from some hands that looked a little wonky over here, and eventually got to these ones.
Nice.
Don't mind that, or the character design on the other side of it. Trying to figure out hair next. So
very nice. You're
Yeah,
getting
anyway,
stuff pretty quickly. It looks like.
pretty quickly. I mean, I've been out of practice for drawing stuff like this for so long that it's kind of like a bicycle, but I'm also falling a lot of times relearning it, which isn't usually supposed to happen. But this was actually something that I was saying to my sister the other day. The difference between bad practice and good practice is this. Bad practice follows the definition of insanity, where you do the same exact thing over and over again, expecting a different result. And it never works. It never works.
Right.
Good practice is knowing that you have to change something. Now, perfectionists or people who have focus issues, or people think you need to spend 6 hours drawing every single time, the reason they don't get anywhere with their art is because they're spending the entire time trying to make an entire masterpiece every time. And that never works. That's why they never get anywhere with their art. But if they try to spend 5 hours making a composition, but they don't know how to do it, they mess up the hand, or they mess up the eyes, or they mess up the shading. Now they hate the whole thing and they think they're a terrible artist. Okay, well, if they spent 5 minutes doing practice on a hand, or spent 5 minutes doing practice on an eye, or 5 minutes practice on shading, and you just stack those up and up, rather than ruining a 5-hour composition, you can just ruin 10 or so 5-minute practices. Way simpler. It really it helps with spatial reasoning, because the best way to understand how to stylize something, how to draw something like cartoon or however, is by understanding spatial reasoning. The hand, for example, it's not flat. I mean, yeah, sure, it's flat in this direction, but when you look closer, all the fingers have volume. They're round on the bottom, even if they're straight on the back. So how do you translate that 3D to 2D? And people think like a lot of shading and a lot of details. No, you need to simplify it. So you need to understand, for example, the placing of these. And I even have some examples of a foot too. You need to simplify the hand. So I think this was like my first one. It was a little wonky, and I simplified it to these shapes. Way easier to remember. That way, I can eventually, and I did the same thing here. You can see I blocked out the foot here because it was looking really wonky at first, and a little rolled ankle as a little Easter egg there. And because I'm able to block those out, I'm able to get stuff like this, and eventually to stuff like that. So, yeah, anyway, it's just something I think could be helpful for some of the folks who have perfection qualms with their art.
Yeah, totally.
So I think that could be helpful.
You too can be a part of the brood of writers and poets at war. Just visit joshuadavidling.com/discord to join. If you're a true poetry patriot, you can support us on Substack and Patreon and get the recordings of all of our encouraging and strategic meetings, along with much more. Once again, all links can be found at joshuadavidling.com. Over and out.
God of songs